Hello everyone! Are we ready? Are y'all ready for tonight? I'm ready. I'm excited. Okay. I was watching someone else's live. So I have to remember to turn my sound down. Alright. Bella, quit messing with that. Get up there, baby. Come on. Get up there. So y'all, my food got here like 5 minutes before I came on. So we were eating really quick over there, and so Bella's going over there to see if she can find the food. I am, thank you. I'm feeling a lot better. How are y'all tonight? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so let's go through what we're gonna do and the supplies. Okay, first let me say, yes, I sent out a list of all the supplies, but that doesn't mean you have to buy anything, and it doesn't mean that you have to have exactly the same stuff, because there are things you can use that will alternate and kind of do the same thing. I'm serious, Bella. Go sit down, baby girl. You're not getting any more. All right. So what I mean is, like, we'll just take, for example, the evergreen wreath. Okay? If you cannot find an evergreen wreath, you can actually make your own. So what did I do with that? Here it is. Alright, so you can make your own evergreen wreath. Go to the Dollar Tree, get yourself one of these Dollar Tree wreaths. And then you get an inexpensive garland. Alright, so that's all this is, right? This is a nice garland that is wrapped around a wreath frame. Now the one I have is slightly elevated, so you can tell because it is up from where the bottom is. So you can see here, this is a flat one. See how it's all flat? And then this is an elevated one. But you can take these and you can wrap it right on the frame, both levels, and create your own. So I'm telling you this because not everybody has Hobby Lobby and all that stuff. And everywhere I got supplies is just a basic, everyday kind of craft store. So, let's talk about the picks. Alright, so these are the picks I'm using. I have berries that are frosted. You could just use regular berries if you can't find the frosted ones. And then I have these picks. So I like these picks because they have a lot in them. Okay. However, if you can't find a pick like this, get a different pick. Okay. You can get picks like this. You can get picks like this. So what you're trying to accomplish is, one, adding texture into a wreath. All right. You're also changing out colors. So see, we have about 3 different colors of green, and that really kind of helps. So see, we have this frosted green. It's almost like a lime green. Then we have the dark green, and then we have this kind of in the middle. All right. So what that does is that helps add texture and dimension into your wreath. Okay, so don't feel like you have to get exactly the same thing I did. Hello, sweet girl. So here's another example of a pick I've found. All right, so anything like this is going to work. And so what I show you is going to be just basic design ideas, and then you can find supplies that work in your area and just do the same thing. You can also get especially at Hobby Lobby right now. Okay, so this is a garland, but what you can do is you can cut this up and get a whole bunch of different picks. I'm going to tell you, this is the most economical way to do it, to get a garland and then to cut it up. Now this one has the little frosting stuff on it, so. But I wanted to pull it out here so I could show you. You have lots of different ideas, lots of different ways you can do it. You don't have to do it exactly the way I do it, and you don't have to use the same stuff. So don't feel like you're stuck just using what I use. All right, let's see if I can get my comments up here. All right, why are you not coming up? And make it smaller. Nope. Okay, let's do it like this. It just won't show me my comments. That's okay, I can look at them on my phone. Okay, so now we'll get started. So we have this is a 24-inch base. Bella, there is nothing else over there. Go sit down. All right, and you're gonna start with it. It's going to be pretty flat. You see, like this is. So the first thing I always do is I always pull all of the pieces back like this and just get them away from the center. Especially if I'm going to be doing a round sign in the middle, which is what we're going to be doing. Alright, so I made 2 different signs, and there's a reason, and I'm going to explain that. So you can get 2 listings. You're actually going to be able to get more than that. Okay, so I'm going to put the sign in the middle. Which one do we like? Season's Greetings or I'll Bring the Mistletoe? Alright, so these signs are 11.75. So you could actually get them in this size, or you could get them in the mistletoe, or you can get them in the 8-inch. So if you wanted to do a smaller one, then the 8-inch is great. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sign in. So we're going to punch both sides. Alright, so I'm just using my hole punch to punch the sign. I'm doing one at the bottom, one at the top. Okay, we'll do this one. Okay. Okay. Look right in here. Okay, so we've got our sides punched. Crossing, well, we're really going to see both. So don't worry what we use, because you're going to see both of them. All right. I'm just going to cut a little bit of this. Yep, so don't worry. We are going to be doing them both. Liking that Season's Greetings, huh? This is what I like. The Season's Greetings, okay, this can go through March because it does not say Christmas on it. This one, neither one says Christmas, but this one, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Okay, so we're using 26 gauge wire, which means it's thin, okay? We use about 20 inches, and I like to kind of double it up because I'm using a smaller wire, and doubling it up just makes it a little bit stronger. Y'all, you can get this wire at Walmart, and you can get it at the Dollar Tree. They have it at the Dollar Tree, and they have it in different colors. So you could get it in red, green. Yeah, Bella's fine. She is sitting right back here on the floor. I don't know if you can see her. She's right there. We ate really quick right before I came on. And so she was kind of hoping there was more food for her. That's funny. Okay, so we're going to do both. Alrighty. Go. Yeah, she's here. My husband brought her over just a little while ago. Okay. All right, so we have our wires on. So we're ready with our signs. Hello. How are y'all doing? Okay, so we got our signs ready. Generally speaking, when I do something like this, that was my phone, y'all. When I do something like this, I like to put the largest piece in first. You can't find the wire at the Dollar Tree? You can get it on Amazon too. It's just 26 gauge wire. I get it on Amazon because I can always find it. So generally when I'm doing a project like this, I like to put this sign in first because then I know how I'm going to put things around the sign. So we're just going to start off with the sign. All I'm going to do is take this wire, and there is a metal frame here, so I'm going to run it right through the greenery here, right to the frame. So here's the frame, and I'm just going to tie it around. I like to tie it around like 3 or 4 times, enough so that you make sure it's on there nice and tight. Okay, just like that. Okay, exact same thing at the bottom. So I wouldn't do a larger sign if you're going to do a base that's smaller than 24 inches. Yeah, it's basically laying on the frame. So see, here's the frame right here. The reason I'm using a larger sign in this is because we're going to make this look larger than it is. And it's just going to give it a very nice look. Now, if it feels like it's not on there sturdy, you can do 2 more on the sides. Now we're going to fluff up the evergreen. You always want to fluff up unless you're trying to do something else with it. But generally speaking, you want to fluff it up. So when I say fluff it up, what I mean is pull it up like this. So you're going to pull it straight up. I do not want to see in between them, so I pretty much just pull them straight up. This. It's like fluffing those trees. Another thing you can do is take your hand and run it through there like this. It's a much faster way to do it, but if your hands hurt, that might hurt your hands, so don't do that if your hands cause you problems. So there are 2 distinct layers. But I really don't want to see that second layer that's under there. Okay? Alright, so we're going to set this aside for right this second. You okay, Bella? You can get on the couch. So look at the way this is. Oh. Alright, so what they've done is they have added a bunch of things together on a main pick. Okay, so you can see where they've tied it together. All right, and so a lot of times I will take that all apart and I will use the various pieces. But what I wanted to show y'all tonight is that you can actually, let's see if we can get this thing cut. You can actually use it as one piece, and then you don't have to struggle with trying to break it apart and where you're going to put it. Yes, we are going to, I promise we will get the retreat set up soon. I got a little delayed when I got sick. Okay, so with the pick, you want to pull all of the pieces out. You see how I showed you, see we saw this one at Hobby Lobby, see, so it has some of that in it. It has some of this type of stuff in it. Okay, so if you can't find one, you can always make one. Alright, so we're pulling all of our stuff out like this. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set it right in here. So we have 3 picks. right? And what I like to do is zip tie them in. Now, you can also, I promise soon, yes, I promise. You can also take these evergreen pieces here and you can tie it down with the evergreen pieces, okay? Just like that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If I'm going to sell it to someone, I do like to at least put a zip tie on it. So I have green zip ties. Y'all, there's a place called, is it Everything Zip Ties? I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But anyways, they have like every color zip tie on the planet. All right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to pull some of the evergreen pieces up. You see how we pull the evergreen pieces up? And then we kind of incorporate this in with our evergreen pieces. We are gonna cut some of it off. So like this piece right here, all right? Because we wanna make sure we have enough to spread throughout the wreath. One thing you wanna do when you're working with things like this is make sure you're going in the same direction. So that's gonna be a big thing, is going in the same direction. And if you only have, so we have 3 picks, because that's how many they had at the store. So we're gonna make it work with 3 picks. I'm taking one of my evergreen pieces and I'm tying it around. I wanna make sure it's gonna stay where I put it. We're gonna pull some of these pieces in. So now it looks like it's part of the evergreen. Okay, so we're gonna do another one. Okay, so we have this piece we're gonna save. We're gonna take a piece off of this. Okay, so I want to have about 4 inches or so. Woo! That was tight. Okay, so pull it apart. Remember, all right, this is the one we want to keep. This is a nice big long one. So let's cut it off. Okay, set it right there. All right, so pull it apart. You want to do this before you get it on your base. Okay, because it's harder to do it once it's on the base. This gives your wreath a whole nother dimension. As my child would say, it's not just 2D or 3D, it's 4D now. Okay, so I'm gonna go about where that one ended. All right, and I'm gonna start putting this one in. Bella doesn't like that sound. Bella doesn't like any kind of loud sounds. All right, so it doesn't have to be right up against it. Okay, so we'll do 1 zip tie, and I'm doing the top base, the top part of the base. Zip tie it down. Yeah, dogs in general don't like loud sounds. I'm sure it's because it's very, very loud in their ears. Okay. Okay, now we want to start putting this and pulling up some of our evergreen pieces, because we don't want it to look like it's just sitting on there. We actually want it to become part of the wreath. Now I'm going to take this piece right here and I'm going to bend it, so I want to keep going in that same direction. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to tie it down with one of my evergreen pieces. Okay, start pulling some evergreen up in here. Okay, right up here. And you don't want these to lay flat, okay? You want them to be coming up from your wreath. It's okay to have some kind of hanging over as long as it's not covering your side. you don't want it to cover your sign. Did we what? Yes, it does. It has cedar leaves and it has eucalyptus and pine. It sure does. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's cut this piece off right here. And here's what I have to say about this. Don't ever be afraid to cut some pieces off of your picks that you're going to use, because you can use them throughout your wreath and it will help you really get everything incorporated in. There we go. All right, so again, we're going to go about right here. So you can see how 3 picks has really made a big difference. So I'm going to tie it down on the back with the little wreath, little evergreen piece. I'm going to do 1 zip tie. See, and what I want you to understand is that even though these look very complicated and scary, they're really not. So don't be scared to do things like this, because it's so much easier than you think it is. It's just a matter of incorporating it in. I lost my zip tie. There we go. And I put it upside down. No, I didn't. I thought I put it upside down, but I didn't. Yes, lamb's ear and berries. So I'm going to show you this. What do I do with it? This here is eucalyptus. Isn't this pretty? So I like it because it's airy. It's just a whole different texture. Now this one is glittered. So y'all, if you find picks and they're not glittered, you can get some Rust-Oleum spray that has glitter in it. I wish I had one with me, but all of those are at my house, and you can add it yourself. So don't be afraid to do that. You can also get the spray to do the fake snow. Okay. All right. So see, you want your wreath to be very dimensional, okay? So I don't want it to go too far beyond the wreath, so I may cut some of this later. But we have our 3 pieces, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the areas where we didn't have that covered. And you're just going to glue it right into the evergreen. You see how that now starts to make it look like you had more than you did. Woo, look at all that glitter on my table. Man, I think I need to turn this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, my glue was starting to kind of fade on me. Okay, there we go. All right. I think we need maybe one right over here. We need one right over here, kind of in the back. Okay. And I'm just dipping these right in my glue pot and then placing them in the wreath. One of the other things that you can do when you're making wreaths is you can use a lot of ribbon, right? Because ribbon's not that expensive and it can really kind of help elevate what you're doing. Yep, I only used 3 pieces to get it started. So you see how already our wreath looks so much better than it did. Okay. All right. We're going to start putting in some of the ribbon. Okay, and then we're going to decorate some more around that. Ribbon is one of the easiest ways you can decorate things. And it is a lot cheaper than getting a whole bunch of different stuff. But remember, you can get You can always get something to spray this glitter on. It is better to invest in full picks just because, so when I go pick out a pick, so let's talk about that for a second. When I go pick out a pick, I'm looking at how many different cuts can I get out of it. So see, I could get a smaller bush, it would cost less. However, what happens is I can't get very many cuts out of it. You see how many cuts I can get out of this? So look, just on this branch, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So when you get a fuller pick, you're going to get a lot more cuts out of it, and that's really what you want. Okay, here's our 2 ribbons. Y'all, I'm obsessed with this ribbon. I love it, I love it. Listen, y'all can do this. I know you can do it. Because you know what? We all started out at ground zero, right? All of us started out at ground zero. So this is the red basket ribbon, and it just has the snow on it. So I really like this. It's going to bring a lot of texture into our wreath. Okay? I know, don't you love the red berries? I love the red berries. Okay, so I'm going to show y'all how to do this by hand today. So let's do our tail about, okay, so we have about 10-inch tail. And what we can do is we can take and go from 0 to 12 and get our 6-inch loop. So all you do is put it in your hand, all right? You do not have to twist it if you don't want to. This is the same on both sides, so it's not really going to matter, but you can twist it. 0 to 12 again. All right. Then I just come around. So this is just like we do when we do our ribbon. When we're doing our ribbon and we have a pattern on it, it's the exact same thing. So all we're going to do is 3 loops, okay? And then we're going to trim it off. Okay? So we got our 3 loops. Now what we're going to do, okay, I gave y'all 2 choices. So you can either do something like this, something with a berry on it. So there's a gold one and there's a white one. I got the ribbon from, I actually got the ribbon from Craft Outlet. I did have some in my shop, but I think it's all gone. Okay, so now we're going to do just a little bit longer on this tail. Let's do maybe 16 inches. Okay, so I'm going to put that right in my hand just like we did before. And when you're making a bow, the biggest thing is to make sure you have enough ribbon out. Okay, all right, so go around just like that. You see it's the same size, and I'm actually going to have it in between these two, so I can go ahead and move it in my hand. All we did was a loop. We didn't twist, we didn't do any of that, we just went around. So see this side, it's an ugly side, so we're going to pull it across. Okay, I just want to make sure they match. They do. This one is going to go on this side over here. We're going to do another one. So remember we did 3. This one is actually going to go in the center. And then we can trim this off. So it does not have to be an elaborate bow. It just doesn't have to be an elaborate bow. It can be a nice simple bow. It's still going to make a statement. So I almost always show y'all how to do this with zip ties. Today I wanted to show you how to do it with florist wire. Alright, so you can get this florist wire at Hobby Lobby. It's the same wire, it's just thicker. Okay, and then you just put it right around. And instead of twisting the wire, you twist the bow. So you just take it, hold this hand steady, and you twist the bow. So a lot of times if I'm going to do a bow into a grapevine or an evergreen, a lot of times I just like to do 3 loop bows. I love 3-loop bows because they just are simple. It's all you need and it's easy to do. Yes, absolutely could be done in a bow maker. Who is that? Rebecca? All right. So what I want to do is I want to come over here and I want to put it right over here to the side. Okay. So I want to find a place that looks like it has a good spot for me to put a bow. If it looks like there's a lot of this pick here, then I'll cut some of it out. We actually could put it, let's put it over here because it looks like there's less over here. So all I'm going to do is take this wire and I'm going to run it right down to the frame on the top, just like that. Okay, and I'm just going to tie it off. So see, all I'm doing is tying it right here on this frame. Then I'll twist it around the frame a little bit. Yes, you have rheumatoid arthritis. I get it. I have fibromyalgia. Okay. So who would like a bow maker? Let's pick our bow maker. Who wants a bow maker? All right, so we've got this on here. And we're going to curl these up. Okay, so curl just kind of right at an angle. You can also take it and curl it straight up with your thumbs and then kind of pull it out. This one, I just want it to kind of curl over. Okay, Rebecca's the first person I saw, so Rebecca gets it. So don't worry, we're going to be doing one every night. Okay. So we've got our bow on. I want to kind of push this bow down a little bit. I want it to be down in the wreath a little more. There we go. Okay. Now watch this. So Rebecca Cronin. You love it? I'm glad. Okay. So this is what we're going to do next. We're going to start putting in some ribbon because remember what I said, ribbon is one of the easiest ways to add a lot of beautiful texture. So ribbon is a great way to add a lot of texture without adding a lot of money. So we're only going to use this one ribbon. And the reason I want to use this one is because it's white and it's bright and it's going to stand out. All right, so we're going to start off with an 8-inch tail. All right, so we're just going to do an 8-inch tail like this. I'm going to start down here towards the bottom and I'm going to tie it on with one of these little evergreen pieces. All right, and I want it to kind of swoop off, and then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to come across this way. So let's see how far this is. Okay, so about 13 inches. All right, so go about 13 inches across this way. And then I'm going to tie it right here. Okay. All right, and then we will trim this off about another 8 inches. So what I was saying is you can, so we went swoop across, we did about 14 inches, and you can kind of push it down right in the middle. Can you see that? And what that does is it all kind of looks like it is kind of indented into the wreath. So we did this one on the outside. Now we're going to do one on the inside. So when you're doing, when you're doing a wreath, it's really important that you have balance. And in order to get balance, you need to go outside, inside, outside, inside. Okay? All right, so we're going to do the same thing. So 8-inch tail right here. Okay, and this time I'm going to go inside here and I'm going to tie it off right here. So I'm still tying it with my evergreen. I'm going to go at an angle again. I keep freezing. Oh. Well, listen, don't worry, because it will be sent out. So hopefully we can get all of our little issues worked out. Okay, so we're going to go over about 13 inches or so. Tie it here with the little evergreen piece. All right, once again, I'm going to kind of swoosh it in a little bit so it's not like standing way out from the wreath. And I'm going to cut it. There we go. All right, so we've got 2 in. All right, so now we're going to come over here and do this one. So about 8 inches. Yeah, it's because we've had such bad weather lately. So this one we can go back to the outside again. Okay, so fold around like that. Kind of. Actually, I think we're going to go inside. I want to go inside. All right. I don't want to cover up this little pine cone here. There we go. And cut it at an angle. There we go. Indented in. So you see how that kind of makes it look a little bit different? All right, the other thing that you can do is you can take some of your ribbon and cut about 8-inch pieces. So 8-inch. Oh, yay. All right. These little pieces, you're just going to pinch, all right, and kind of get this curling. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come in, and one of the things I like to do is kind of make it look like it's coming out of the bow. So I'll go near the bow, and I'm going to use one of my greenery pieces to tie it down. This is going to make our bow look fuller and richer. Okay, just by getting that. So you want it to look like it's coming out of the bow. Hold on, this isn't as tight as I want it. Okay. I'm just tightening down the wire. You need what? I'm so glad you did. Thank you, Casey. Okay, there we go. So I don't want it popping up and fluffing everywhere. Okay. So we'll take another piece. All right, I'm gonna kind of go like this. This time I want to kind of go back here. So I'll find a piece, tie it down. All right, there we go. So you see how it kind of looks like it's coming out from the bow? All right. We're gonna cut. I'm cutting this piece off because I want to put it in with my bow, okay? One of the things that you really want to do is make sure that you are adding some pieces into your bow, because that's what helps incorporate your bow into your project. Okay? And I just glue it right in between the ribbon. Okay, we got one more. So we're going to tie it. All right, and I want to come over here. So right back here behind the bow. Okay. Just using that evergreen piece because you already have it. There's no need not to use it. You could also wire it in if you would like to, but I really like to use the Evergreen because it's there. It's there. There's no reason you can't use it. All right. Now. So now what we're going to do, and you'll have to fiddle with your bow as you smash it like I do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start adding some color in. Yes, the glue really holds things, and I'll tell you why. Okay? So, this Evergreen, it has these little fake pine pieces, and they will hold glue like nobody's business. So when you're gluing things in, it's really important that you're gluing to something that's going to really hold on to the glue. So it would be like if you're doing a deco mesh, then you want to glue it into the little ties. You don't want to glue it onto the mesh because that mesh is not really going to hold it. All right, so I'm going to start breaking my pieces apart. Okay, so we'll have some with 2, we'll have some with 1. All right, I like this long piece. So this long piece can kind of go on the inside so that it can come out to the outside. So we're going to take these long pieces, and that's what we're going to put on the inside. And there's a distinct possibility we won't use all of these. Okay. So that one has 2, and I like to organize so that I can easily pick them up. So a little bit, oh, y'all, I'm not even zoomed in. Lordy. Don't worry, when I pull it down, I'll edit it and get it all nice for you. Okay, so take the long piece off. Did you see, did my mom come in? We were trying to get her set up earlier. Oh, you couldn't find it? Well, you found it now. You're in. Okay. Here we go. So we got our longer pieces here. Okay, let's do one more. I think that's probably all we're going to need. Okay, we're going to cut this up here with the 2. Oh, good. Okay. And then we'll cut these 2. All right. We're also going to cut some of this up. I love this. I don't want to do too much of this because there's already some in here, but I wanted that extra color variation and texture. All right, so I'm pulling these apart because I don't want them to be all clumped together. We're going to kind of disperse them throughout. Do you? Well, you'll have to tell me when you're going. A lot of times my mom likes to go with me when I go to Carolina Pottery. So I use 2 different ways for my ribbon. Yep, I know John set you up. I called him. One way is I have some shoe racks that I got off of Amazon, and that's kind of what you see behind me when I'm live. And the other way is I use shelves like you put in your closet. You know that white shelving that has the little slats in it? Well, I use that. Okay, so now we're going to start dispersing this throughout. All right, we're just get some glue, and we're going to glue it right into our wreath. I'm going to kind of see if I can, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to kind of disperse it throughout. Okay, like right in here. And I'm really looking for places where there's a whole lot of green and not a lot of pink. Okay, so here we go. So right up here. Remember how I said you want to put some out and some in? All right, so we're going to put a few pieces inside. Okay. I want smaller pieces inside. Okay. Here I can kind of, I want to make sure I'm still going with the direction that I've already set. Very important. You want to stick with the direction that your wreath is already going in. Let me turn that back down. Okay. Y'all, if you're using a glue pot or a glue gun, really either one, make sure that your glue is not super hot. It does not need to be more than 250 degrees, really ever. Unless you're working on something super special, it really does not need to be more than that. Okay. Put one down here. I don't know what I just knocked over. Ouch. Got myself. I think it might have been some of these berries. All right. Now let's start putting berries in. So we have ones with 2 in them. Okay. So I'm going to start placing some berries in. Oh, how cute is that? Look at that. Don't be afraid to go beyond the bounds of your wreaths. The only thing you really have to do is draw yourself an imaginary line. So you see this here is our imaginary line. This is as far out as we can go. It might be a little bit farther than we want to go. And as long as you stay within that imaginary line, you're going to be fine. Yep, I use regular glue sticks. My glue pot is an electric skillet from Walmart. Yep, that's what it is. And that's what I suggest you get because it's cost effective and it works like the bomb. It is awesome. Okay, so we're going to take another one with 2. Okay, put it right in here. So we'll have a little bit of color kind of coming out. Thank you. I'm so glad you like it. This is my favorite thing, y'all. It's just, okay. And I like coming up with new things. So I'm always trying to come up with some new idea. Or some new way I can do it. Or some way I can bend this or bend that. Okay, so I'm just dispersing these. These double ones, what I want to do is go along the outside so I can continue that line that we established. So we talked about the boundary. So that's what we're doing with the 2s. We're kind of staying within that and creating that boundary. Hot. That's hot. See, I just turned my glue down because it was too hot. If you are burning yourself and it's like, ow, ow, it's too hot. Turn it down. I think I might have knocked a bunch of pieces off on the ground. It's okay. We can get it. Okay, there we go. Right. Don't think I like this piece right here. Okay. So one thing I want to make sure is I don't have too many pieces that are kind of coming over and covering up our side. So what I do is I cut them, all right, and then I glue it right back in, okay? Woo, it's still hot. So don't be afraid to cut pieces off and then bring them right back in. So see, we can cut this one off and put it right here. There we go. So I'm looking for places where I need to put things in. All right, let's start with some of these. I love anything that's whimsical, that's going to kind of give it some dimension. You see that? So those are the kinds of things that are going to set apart just a nice pretty wreath from a showstopper. Okay, so you don't be afraid to add in that little bit of stuff that's going to come out and really give and elevate your project. Okay. See, like that. See how that just kind of comes up? Woo, buddy, this thing is hot. I had to turn it up because it wasn't really melting, and then it got hot in a hurry. Isn't that the way it always is? Okay, who feels like they're lost? Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to use, the box I'm going to use would be just right around this edge. So I would actually be okay with kind of pushing it in a little bit. So I would probably use a 24-inch box. Yeah, ask away. Because when I get done with this, I'll come back and see if I can find your questions. So there's no rules about mixing things. A lot of it is just as long as you have balance in your pieces, you're gonna be fine. So don't feel like there's rules. There are not rules. No rules in wreath making. You just have to do kind of what your eye tells you to do. And you know, don't stress if you're not doing as well as you think you should be. It just takes time. It takes time to find your style. It takes time to find the way that you like things. And you know, you can use little things to help you. So if you struggle with putting greenery in, then get nice picks. And then you don't have to, you know, really worry about how you can add them together to make them look right. So don't forget, you can always buy things that are already done, and then you can just kind of add a little bit in here and there. Yeah, so let me tell you what to do for boxes. Get on Google and do a search for box manufacturers near me. And you might be surprised that there might be someone who makes his boxes near you. Because I have one, and I'm going to tell you, it's a lot cheaper. They deliver it to me for free. So I'm cutting a couple more little pieces. And I'm going to kind of put them in a couple of places. Like that. Okay. Yeah, best thing I ever did. Yeah, don't bother with a glue pot. It's just basically a crock pot. You don't really need it. Just get an electric skillet. Those things work great. Alright. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through and figuring out anywhere that I need to add a little something. So at this point, sometimes you have to step back and look at it. Alright, so I see like a little place right here that I think needs a little something. One thing I can do is this one I think is too long. So I can trim this off. Okay. And I can come put it right in here where I feel like it needs a little something. Okay, I can take some of these berries. And I can place them right in the bow. Alright, so I've just taken the little pieces and I'm just gluing it right in. So it glues very well to the ribbon. I just kind of pull the ribbon apart and then put it in there just like that. All right, so now one great way to tell if you're done is to hang it somewhere. All right, so it doesn't have to be on a wreath stand. It can just be anywhere in your house. And so what you're looking for when you hang it up, okay, let's kind of move this around a little bit. So this piece right here needs to come out. All right, so what I'm looking for is what I would call a bald spot. Not like hair bald, but just a spot that looks like it needs something and it just doesn't mix well with the rest of the wreath. So see, that looks good. So I think we can put this in over here. Actually, let's put it in right here, right in there. So it's perfectly fine to take some pieces out and to start move them around. This, there we go, wasn't really going in the right direction. So I can take this and move this around this green piece so that you don't really see the green piece. Okay, like that. So can y'all see, let me pull it a little closer. Can y'all see how what you're doing is put it up and then you take your hand and run your hand across it like this, and you know if you have your line. So you can see there's an invisible line that goes around. You can also see that everything is going in the same direction, and that's also what helps to move your eye around. Okay, so at this point what I like to do is just kind of futz around with it a little bit, and then I might add like a ribbon tail like right in here, or we could add a little berry. Just kind of put a little bit of color in there. That's the train, y'all. The train comes by. It is loud. It is loud and proud. Yeah, I think it's good. All right, so what kind of questions do we have? Yeah, if it's smoking, it's too hot. So see, look here. Right now, my glue is too hot. So you can see, you see how it's just dripping off of there like that? If it's running like that, it is way too hot, okay? What you want is for it to be thick, to kind of sit on there. So kind of like, almost like the consistency of taffy a little bit. You want it to, yes, the flocked garland from Hobby Lobby, yes. See, look, this would look really good in here. So don't feel like you have to use what I used. You can find a substitute. Thank you. You can find a substitute. You just have to go look. Oh, look, and I didn't even use any of this. Look at this. This is really pretty. It has this little snow stuff in it, which would work really great with this flocked piece over here. So you could do this entire thing and do it flocked instead of doing the greenery like we did. All right, good question. Okay, so let's talk about sales price. All right, so this is how I do sales price. First of all, don't undercut yourself. It is really very important that you don't undervalue your stuff, because that's what a lot of people do. We all think, oh my gosh, we're probably going to sell it faster if we sell something that's not quite as much. Not true. That's not true. You don't want to do that. Okay? You want to sell it at a price that's reasonable. All right? Hey, Regina. We already gave away the bow maker. All right, so what I do is I take all of the supplies that I have in this wreath, and I'm going to multiply it by a factor of either 2.5 or a factor of 3. So what that means is I'll take, let's take for example, let's say that this one cost me $40. So we'll say $40. If I'm going to multiply it by 3, this is going to be $120. If I'm going to multiply it by 2.5, it's going to be a little bit less. All right, and then one of the things that I found works really well, especially on Etsy or other places like that, is take and do a flat rate for shipping, like $20, $25, and then add the rest of the shipping into the price, because people are going to be more willing to pay a lot of money for a wreath and not as much for thank you for the, so they're not going to want to pay as much for the shipping as they will the wreath. So pack that price into your shipping. I mean, into your wreath and not your shipping. Thank you. Yeah, so every day it's going to be exactly the same time. Y'all, look at this mess. All right, so we had 2 signs, remember? Now I want to tell you why. When you are doing things to fill up your shop, like your Etsy shop, one of the things that you can do is that you can use one project to get multiple listings. Okay, so in this case, what I would do is I would take a picture of it just like this, and then I would take this sign and I would sneak it right in here, right on top, and I would take a picture, and now I have 2 listings. So if one of them sells and the other one doesn't, what you can do is, another thing I would say is you really want to make sure that you have some where you have 2 items listed, because a lot of people have double doors and a lot of people are going to be looking. I know, the sound went out again. Ugh. Is it back? I'll go through that part again. Hold on. All right. So what I was saying is I took and I put the second sign on top, and so I'm going to take a picture of that. So then I'm going to have 2 listings. I'm going to have one listing with the season's greetings. I'm going to have one listing with the mistletoe. And then when one of them sells, so when one of them sells, you deactivate the other one, okay? And then you can just recycle that listing. I don't add a delivery pipe. I add most of it in to the wreath, because it's just easier to sell a more expensive wreath than it is to sell the shipping cost. Okay? Yeah, you do need a mat this big. I love this mat. Okay, tomorrow we may do webcam, because this is driving me insane. Alright, we'll set something else up tomorrow, because I don't know what's going on with this Mevo. It's driving me crazy. Alright. Awesome. I know. I don't know what's doing. It's just driving me nuts. Okay, well, I will see y'all tomorrow. I'll probably switch out to a webcam, because what's Anne's question? Okay. Alright, so it's too big to bag it. So are you delivering it in person? If you're delivering it in person, I wouldn't bag it. I wouldn't do anything. I would just take it over there. So that's what I would do. Yeah. Yes. If I only use half of the pick, if it's a large pick, I'll just count half. However, when I'm doing ribbon, a lot of times I will count the whole roll, because, yes, because I'm not going to be able to use that to do something else. All right, here you go. There it is. See, when it's outside, you see what it's going to do? And that is what you want. You want it to do this, because that is what is going to be super appealing to someone. All right, see, can you see it? See See, there's the bow. All right. Tomorrow I'll have a backup just in case it doesn't want to work right. Same time tomorrow night, so 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Okay? Yeah, that's what I do, Ann. If I'm delivering something to someone, I just take it straight over. Awesome. Yep, they'll all be the same time every day. All right? Okay, y'all have a wonderful time.